Hello, and welcome to a super special episode of the Killer Author Club. It is our 50th episode. Can you believe it? 50 killer guests and their books, including the one, the only, the fabulous Sarah Pekannen, #1 best-selling co-author of The Golden Couple and The Wife Between Us. Today, we will be talking about her newest release, Gone Tonight, a domestic mother-daughter thriller packed full of secrets. We have tons to talk about, so grab your coffee or your cocktail, your list of questions for Sarah, and sit tight. We will see you right back here in just a second.
Thought you really loved me, guess I was wrong. Thought you'd never leave me, guess I was dumb. Waited like forever to be your plus one, but I guess you were done.
Hello, I am Killer Kimberly Bell, along with founding members Killer Kara Ruda and Killer Heather Gudenkauf. And we are so excited to welcome Sarah to the clubhouse. The Killers and I started the Killer Author Club so that readers like you can interact with some of the best suspense and thriller authors in the biz. And they are killers like Patricia Cornwell. Yes, the Patricia Cornwell. Coming up on November. Woo! She is coming on November 13th at a special time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And our winter-spring lineup also includes Frida McFadden, Nita Prose, Angie Kim, and so many more killer authors that you will definitely not want to miss. We'll be making an announcement on our socials in the coming days with a full lineup. But in the meantime, dates, times, etc., everything can be found on killerauthorclub.com. But today we are here with Killer Sarah to talk about killing of the fictional kind, of course. So make sure to drop your questions in the comments and we'll try to get through as many as we can. And we'll be choosing some to ask our killer guest. If you're watching this on Facebook or have a Facebook account, check out our public group, Killer Author Club, or for our really hardcore killers, the private members only group called Killer Author Clubhouse. And that's also where we host our book clubs, and we have one coming up next week with Christina McDonald. We also have a YouTube channel where you can stream us to your big flat screen TV on the wall, and you can find us all wasting entirely too much time on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or whatever it's called these days. For links to everything, watch the comments or check out killerauthorclub.com. So now, without further ado, Heather, would you please introduce our killer guest?
I would love to. Sarah Pekannen is the #1 New York Times bestselling co-author of 4 novels of suspense, including The Golden Couple and The Wife Between Us, and the solo author of the thriller Gone Tonight, which we'll be talking more about. A passionate volunteer for rescue animals, she serves as an ambassador for RRSA India and works hands-on in India to heal and vaccinate street dogs. She lives just outside of Washington, D.C. with her family. Okay, Sarah, welcome. We're so glad you're here with us, and let's dive right in. Can you give us an elevator pitch for Gone Tonight?
All right, the elevator pitch for Gone Tonight, and the background noise is one of my rescue dogs chewing on a bone in the background, so ignore that, it's atmospheric. Gone Tonight is the story of a mother and a daughter who are very tightly enmeshed. The mother, Ruth, had her daughter Catherine when she was a teenager, but now Catherine's grown, and these two women are living together in an apartment, and they only have each other. Ruth keeps in touch with no one from her past. She has a tracking app on Catherine's phone. They have to move every couple of years, often in the middle of the night or with very little notice. But now Catherine is 24 and she's gotten a job offer in another city. She wants to fly, the nest, and she wants to create her own life. And Ruth will do anything to keep that from happening. So the question is a threat coming from Catherine, from Ruth, or from the outside?
Wow. So good. Loved it.
Thank
it.
That was a long elevator ride.
No, that was perfect. And we're going to talk more about the books in just a moment. But everyone will settle in right now for the killer cocktail. Kara?
Yes. Okay. So Sarah, you selected the French 75 as your special cocktail. And why did you pick this drink and how does it tie to Gone tonight?
I picked this drink because I'm not much of a chef or a cook. And so it's a very simple drink to make. It's very refreshing. You just need kind of a few ingredients. And, it's a little bit sweet, a little bit tart, like my characters.
Yeah.
But tonight I'm actually having a glass of wine. So I'm not, I didn't even mix the whole,
It's a lot to mix the whole thing, especially.
Yeah. I love a French 75, but I like it with vodka. I'm not a gin drinker. You can make it with vodka too, and it's called something else. I can't remember what, if anybody out there knows, but it's the same thing, and it's delicious.
Very interesting. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, well, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, everybody. Thanks for being here, Sarah.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. I met, Kira, you and I met for the first time in person a couple months ago. And we had known each other on social media for 10 years.
I mean, a long time.
We had never met, right? But we had just been always I've got this going on. You want to read my book? Do you want to do this? And, it was all casual and friendly. And then we met and we're like, where have you been all my life? And we spent the whole weekend
We did.
trying to get alone so we could talk and gossip and giggle and laugh and have a glass of wine. It was so great.
I love that. I love that about the author community because there are always people out there like that. And then you see them and it's like you've known them forever, even though it's the first time you're meeting.
Yeah.
And the readers, I see Christy Barrett.
I love Christy. Hi, Miss Christy. Oh, look here. Let's put her comment up.
Such a good
my
friend
love
to
for
all of
Sarah
us.
is endless. Oh, she's so sweet. Hi, Christy.
For authors, an amazing woman.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Gone Tonight because you are racking up all the reviews. Colleen Hoover says it's riveting, original, and a powerful mother-daughter story that kept her glued to the pages. And Harlan Coben says Gone Tonight is a page-turning thriller about a mother-daughter you won't soon forget. Read Gone Tonight. It's a wild ride. And then we have First Clue that said readers are in for a wild cat and mouse game as this tight duo, boundaries, what are they, faces terrible odds when Catherine delves into her mother's past and Ruth hides the pair from an encroaching threat. Overall, it's an eye-opening look at how our minds talk us out of things we don't want to know. I love that because that's so true.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, now we need to know your answer to the killer question for tonight, which is, why do you kill?
Why do I kill? I feel like I kill because I'm pretty nice in all other areas of my life. I've driven a minivan for more years than I can count. I'm a mom of 3 boys. I'm I volunteer. I do other things. I don't even kill flies. I throw them outside. But when I step into my job, it's like putting on somebody else's skin. It's like you're an actress, right? And you are inhabiting the roles of your characters. And to push the edges, so many of us women who are living a certain way and have to have these certain roles that are more approved by society, it's kind of fun to let our wild side out. What if we did instead whatever we wanted to, like this crazy character? And, what if we did, knock off that jerk who was attacking women or, whatever it is, right? So the killing is just a little bit of maybe the darker side that we don't let out in our everyday lives.
I love that.
I love that. That's perfect. A
Cathartic
killing, we like to call it.
Cathartic killing. It's
vicarious killing.
Yes. Great job. Very good.
So let's start with a question everybody also always wants to know the answer to, and that's, where did the first spark for this story come from? What was the inspiration?
So I finally have an answer to this question, because we like get asked this question all the time. And I think we want to know as authors too. We're like, what's the clue? What's the secret formula, the handshake, the code that can teach us how to do this difficult, frustrating, impossible thing called writing a book? But so for this book, I started thinking about women disappearing. That's how it began. And I was like, a lot of the books in my genre are about women disappearing, and I've written some of them. And so I started thinking, well, what are all the ways a woman can disappear? I thought, a woman can disappear disproportionately at the hands of predators. We've all seen that. A woman can slide into a role like being a mother and wife and lose her identity. We are always being conditioned to shrink and lose weight, take up less physical space in the world, to kind of disappear physically. Girls are being told to talk more softly, to be more gentle, like being diminished in that way. And then I thought, but what if like a woman, her own mind was erasing itself? That would be a different way to disappear that I maybe hadn't seen yet in a book. And so I started with that thread, and that, I wish I had the lightning bolt idea where the entire book unfolded in my mind, like it does apparently for J.K. Rowling, which none of us are bitter or envious of her and her art at all. We will also have theme parks someday. They will be like very slashery and bloody, but because of what we write. But yeah, like I start with a little thread and I unravel it and I play with it and I do the what if all day long, and then it just kind of somehow ends up in a book.
So good.
I loved it.
Yeah. And, you have children, and, you go back and forth in time with this book. Do you use any of, personal experiences of a mother to feel the story? Because we know that Ruth is very protective of her daughter. Do you have some of those same similarities?
So it's so funny because I was trying to think what, the other little piece of the origin of this book was. And for just a split second, I forgot when Kimberly was asking, because I was frazzled coming on here because my son knocked out my internet. And so I lost the thread of my answer. But Heather, you like swooped in and gave me the question that provided the second half of my answer that I can't believe I forgot, which is the other little intersection of the genesis of the story was my grandmother, who I didn't know well at all. She died when I was probably in college, and she was an immigrant. She married an immigrant. She had to drop out of high school to help support her family. She married a guy, my grandfather, who maybe had like a fourth grade education, maybe a little bit more. He had come over from Finland and didn't speak English. They built the house they lived in. She was a waitress her whole life, which my main character, Ruth, is in the book. And the thing that was really amazing about my grandma was that she had this ferocity when it came to her kids. And she was like, I will do whatever it takes to protect my kids. And you didn't see it on a day-to-day basis. She was working, standing, on her feet, bussing tables and, bringing, coffee and breakfast platters to tables all day long. But my dad was born with a heart condition, and he was told that he would not live past, 25 or something. Because, this was, I guess, in the early 60s, and he'd been born in 1939. So he was, in the early 60s, he was maybe 22. And, he knew his time was running out. And so my grandmother, this waitress living in a house she and her husband built with a husband with no English, very limited English, no money, found a surgeon who was doing the first open heart surgeries in the country in Boston, convinced him to take my dad on as a patient. And my dad is 84 today and alive.
Wow.
Right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
So this woman is like, don't underestimate her. You might not see her. A waitress is an invisible profession, as Ruth, my character, says. She will go up to a table, 15 times in an hour, and she'll be like, hey, I'm Ruth, I'm your server today. Hey, I'm Ruth, I'm your server today. Within 5 minutes, nobody's going to know who she is. And that suits her. She wants to fly under the radar. But she's got this whole other side you would never imagine. So that is one of the rare times in which I've based a piece of a character on somebody from real life. I almost never do it. Ruth is not my grandmother. There's so many differences, but that, like, I will do anything to save my kid, even the impossible, is directly drawn from my grandmother.
So did your grandma keep journals, or is that made up because Ruth has perspective in journals?
She did not keep journals, but I actually wonder if she would have been a writer, because she loved word. She loved Scrabble. Like, she was very good and very sharp, crossword puzzles. And I think if she had been maybe born in a different time with different opportunities, she would have been a writer.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah.
So speaking of the journals, I always love stories which incorporate, things like journals. Where did that idea come from? What was your decision behind choosing to tell the story that way?
I knew that I wanted to have dual characters, the mother and the daughter, and that even though they knew each other better than anybody in the world, they kind of also didn't really know each other on some levels. And I knew that Ruth needed to be able to explain the half of her life before Catherine came along, like explain that to Catherine, because, as daughters, we meet our mothers when they're, at a certain, point through life, maybe a quarter, a third, or half of the way through their life. And we define them how they orient around us, but they've actually had like a whole other life that we really don't know much about. And so I wanted Ruth to be able to explain that to Catherine and let her know, like, this is how we got where we are. And the voice for the journals came out. Like, the journals were the easiest part of the book to write, which was really interesting. Like, I could just write those all day. Yeah.
That's so fun. I love it when that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish a whole book could be like that, where you're just like, oh yeah, just dash this off and sip my latte.
And well, her voice through the journal, it was so authentic. I mean, she really, as I was reading, took me back to like her teenage years. We really get to go back and deep with Ruth in her journals, and it really laid the groundwork. And I also loved, you just slowly kind of revealed these little tidbits about Ruth and about why the way she is, and so excellently.
Well, can I ask you guys a question? I feel like you guys are so generous and you're asking me questions. And one of the things that I get asked all the time, and I know you guys too, is like, what is your writing process? And I'm very curious about the time of day you write, where you write, what are your writing rituals? Can you each go around and answer that?
Heather, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for me, it seems like with every book, it's a little bit different. I don't feel like I need like a set time of day to write, because I think when I started, my kids were so young, and I just wrote whenever I could. They were school age, and I worked full time, so I just wrote whenever I could, and so it'd be like in the van and so like taking advantage of those minutes to get the writing done. Really was for me. So now that my kids are grown, I just kind of lock myself in my office or go outside when I can, and that's when I write.
Okay, so now do you do more of like a starting first thing in the morning, like 9 to 5 kind of?
Yeah, I cannot get up super early. I am so envious of that 5 a.m. writers.
No, I'm not envious of it at all.
I'm like, I see that, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I do much better in the afternoon and evening.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I do, because I find
I like to do it too.
One of those people who I feel everything else is in front of me that I have to square away before I can actually focus.
I agree.
And
interesting. I'm the opposite. I'm like fresh morning ride. I mean, I usually need, a half an hour maybe to like putz around, but then my best words are in the morning, and I get the most done in the morning. And then like 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm losing steam.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I read
efficient to me. That
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere, Sarah, that you outline too, right?
Well, I mean, probably like you guys, my process changes. So I didn't, I used to outline, no, I didn't used to outline. Then I started outlining. I've gone back and forth, but right now what I basically do is I write a synopsis for my editor and I say like, here's a 5-page synopsis and that's it. And then she'll tell me like, oh, you know, this piece is a little worrisome. Let's talk about it. But for the book I'm writing right now, the 2025 book, I had to do a bunch of research for it. I had to fly somewhere and do like undercover research, which I'll tell you about sometime.
That's
Well, that's-
fun.
Did you wear a disguise?
I didn't wear it, but I did have to go in under an assumed identity.
Oh, that's so
Okay, so
fun.
then come back.
It was wild. It was unbelievable. And when I came out, I like sat on a bench for 2 hours, like, oh my God. And then I went back to my hotel and I started to write. And I have to email, unless my editor's watching now, she may find out, but I have to email her later on this week and say, I'm so sorry, I can't send you the synopsis this week like I said I would, because I'm actually writing the book and I don't want to stop. Because
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so much
I think that's a valid excuse, though,
Right.
right? I mean, I think she'll be happy to hear that.
I mean, unless I run into like a cement wall at 50,000 words.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
God, where was I going to go with this? But
You've
So,
got
we're not live.
did you start outlining when you were co-writing? Because I've co-written a book and I don't know how you do it without a really good outline. Is that when you changed your process or?
Well, I changed my process, but not for the outline. You know, because I had outlined before. So what the big thing that changed is that when you're writing solo, you're doing brain to fingertips and you're not having to articulate. You're just translating your thoughts into words, you know, through your physical mechanism of typing. And so that was something I was very comfortable with. I would put on music. I could write anywhere. I would talk to myself a little bit. When I started co-writing, I had to go brain, mouth, and then fingertips. I had to articulate the thoughts. And that was the biggest challenge. Like, I can do it this way, but like, this is so frustrating.
It is hard, right? Yeah.
I'm so glad I did it. I think it really helped me, but it was like learning a skill in a different way, like learning how to, I don't know, eat with your left hand or, you know, brush your teeth with your left hand after you've been doing it one way.
Mm-hmm. So someone asked, which do you prefer, co-writing or solo writing?
So I think I prefer mixing it up all the time.
Yeah.
I used to write, you know, straight, you know, kind of women's fiction, right? I used to be called, they used to call it women's fiction. Now it's actually just fiction. So I used to write fiction. And then I wrote co-written psychological thrillers. Now I'm writing solo psychological thrillers, but I've also written 3 stories that were fiction, 3 linked short stories for Simon & Schuster, a short story co-written that was a thriller. I wrote for International Thriller Writers a solo thriller short story. I've written screenplays, pilots, you know, newspaper magazine articles. So it's not really like one thing or another that I like to do. I like to keep stretching, learning, growing, changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All of it is additive, right? No matter what you do, like, yeah, if you're writing and creating, then it all kind of adds to everything.
Yeah, because it's a craft. Like, didn't we talk about this? We're carpenters. We are, you know, well, you're a little bit more of a artist, I think. Like, you are like, oh, my characters are talking to me. I'm like, really?
No.
You don't talk to me, but you're like, I just want to make sure they're saying everything they have to say. Hold on, I'm going to write 5 chapters in a day. And I'm like, you know, how do you, yes.
Yes. Well,
She's so modest.
Anyway. Okay. Well, I think Heather,
Yes.
Darius, it's time for you to go.
Well, it is. So this is going way too fast. We have
I
so
know.
much to talk about, but I know everyone's really excited because Sarah is giving away 2 copies of Gone Tonight for the giveaway to 2 USA viewers. So all you have to do to enter is answer this question about our guest, and we will choose a winner from all the correct answers. bonus points for joining the Killer Author Clubhouse on Facebook, and or subscribing to our YouTube channel. So
Yes.
if you do both those things, you get extra points. But the question is, what volunteer work does Sarah do in India? So make sure you drop your answer into the comments, and we will choose 2 winners from the correct answers, and you will each win a copy of Sarah's book, Gone Tonight. So good luck, everybody.
Oh, can I say thank you to some of these nice commenters? Renee, thank you for reading, and Natalia, or Natalie, sorry. And then I just have to call out Niels, who wrote, "This book is juicy fruit." Which is actually not a comment I've ever gotten, but I want to put it on my cover blurb. This book is juicy fruit. The best book ever.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
You guys have such a nice community here. So many sweet
It's awesome.
readers. Renee, I only have 1 rescue dog here right now, but I do foster sometimes.
Oh,
I would have 10 if I could, easily.
I know I have 3. Okay. So Killer Author Club loves independent bookstores, and we appreciate your support of them, everybody. And Sarah selected Politics and Prose, I love that store, in Washington, D.C. as her favorite indie. Sarah, can you tell us why this store is so special to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to say one indie is your favorite because
I
we
know.
know them all, and they're so good. But I did pick the one closest to me geographically. I love Politics and Prose for a lot of reasons. I teach there occasionally. I'll teach like an online class there. I've gotten to know many of the staff. I usually do my launch night for my books there, and it's just it's this fantastic indie bookstore. Like as we all know, when you walk into one, and say, yeah, I kind of like this author and I'm in the mood to read something like this. And they're like, oh, let me show you right here. I have 5 great books for you. They give the best recommendations. They know authors. They know books. There's often like a cat roaming around at an indie bookstore. They're the best places in the world.
It feels like home.
Totally. So Politics and Prose, I adore. Always have.
And we'll be dropping a buy link in the comments so you can order Gone Tonight and any others on your wish list through Politics and Prose. So there's a link. Kimberly always does that. I'm not sure how she
I
does
dropped
it.
it already.
She probably already did it while I was talking. So thank you guys for supporting independent booksellers.
Yes. So membership has its privileges, y'all. Every episode we choose a name from the Killer Author Clubhouse hat to win a piece of swag, t-shirts, mugs, candles, totes, hats. We got it all. And they can all be found at killerauthorclub.com. Tonight's winner is Pam Mulinix. I hope I said that right. Please send one of the killers your address and we will send some swag your way.
Wonderful. And oh my gosh, I just don't know how this happened, but it is that time of the episode where, Sarah, we have to say to you, congratulations, you survived the Killer Author Club. So we throw upon you this lovely badge that you can, we'll send it to you. You can print it out, hang it on the wall with all your other accolades. And
I'm going to put it on my laptop so I can.
Yes. Congratulations for surviving the 50th episode of the Killer Author Club.
Oh, well, I love you, ladies. I am so flattered to be here. And can we all get together in person?
Yes, please.
Maybe we can do like a writing retreat or something.
Yes. Oh,
we'll wait for a weekend. Yeah.
So fun.
Minnesota
was great.
What's that?
Thriller Fest next.
Yeah. I just joined the board of the ITW, so I'll be at
nice.
Thriller Fest, and I'm like on the technology board. I'm not sure they really chose that well. So as you saw me trying to get on the site,
I'm not sure that's a good fit based on tonight's.
I feel like they may regret that decision.
I don't think they can do anything. Maybe just be a global expert on technology. I think that's
Totally. I'll just be like a talking head on technology.
I like it.
Love it.
Guys, thank you all so much again for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, it was great having you. And that really does it for tonight's episode of the Killer Author Club. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and thanks Sarah for being here. On October 17th, we have a super special double header. First up, at a special time, we have our next book club with Christina McDonald. That's at 5 p.m. Eastern. And These Still Black Waters, about which our own Kimberly Bell said, a whip-smart, completely unexpected story of a killer out for revenge and a damaged detective out to stop him. This is not the book you think it is, and I mean that in the best possible way. And then remember, Killer Author Book Club, if you want to come to that, is only in the Killer Author Clubhouse. I know that sounds confusing, but it's really not. It's a private group on Facebook. And so come and join us, and there will be spoilers. And then at 9 Eastern time, which is 6 Pacific, I got that straight finally, we'll be right here with the one and only Vanessa Lilly and her newest release, Blood Sisters. For our full schedule, dates, times, past episodes, recipes, and merch, surf to killerauthorclub.com. We'll see you right back here next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
I guess I'm a killer, threw our love into the river. Heard you saying I'm the worst thing swaying.